Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Kenya Abraham. I am the Organic Transition Program Manager for Oak, and I'm also your session moderator today. I want to thank all of you for attending our session. You're going to get some really good advice here. We have an awesome panel of professionals that are here to talk about services and programs that are provided for Kentucky farmers. And so we want to hear your voice in this room with questions for these folks. I want you to really bring it and give us a good session time. I do ask that anybody that has a question to please either wait for a microphone. If that person does not have a microphone, would the panelists please repeat the question into the microphone? I want everything recorded in this session. And I'm sorry to sound like a like session Nazi, but I really am looking forward to what we come up with here. In that same return, we have cards that I've passed out on the table. If you could please give us your input on those little pink session cards. That means a whole lot to Oak. It helps us figure out what's needed next time and how we can better serve you at our conference. One more thing before we get started, I'd also like to announce that tonight, Friday evening, we have our social from 5:30 to 7:30, and so we will be having food trucks come, and everyone has inside of their name tag in the back, everyone has a blue drink ticket. It's a free drink ticket, so that's for tonight during that time. And I don't really drink, and so I'm willing to sell mine to the highest bidder. So just note to self for that. And we'll get started. So today we have Kimberly Bartley with the Kentucky Division of Conservation. We have Dixon with the UK Ag Weather Center. We have Nicole Gwishiri. I always mess that up, and she's my sister. Nicole Gwishiri from the Women of the American Farmland Trust. And then we have David Mathis from the Shelby Insurance Agency. And so we're going to start off today with Kimberly, and she's going to get up here and tell you all about herself and what she does. And please write down all your questions and save them for when it's Q&A time. Kimberly?
I started off with a bang. I had to keep you all awake. I know this is the last session of the day, so I hope to give you something to take back with you that you can actually use that will be valuable for you. Some of these topics are not the most glorious, but they're all necessary, right? They're all stuff that can help us all out. So I'm Kimberly Bartley. I work with the Kentucky Division of Conservation. I live in Springfield, Washington County, so not too far from here. But I have been an environmental science field rep with Division of Conservation for about 22 years. And so during that time, my father always told me you don't work a day in your life if you enjoy what you do. Well, I enjoy what I do. I get to work with a lot of humble, simple, down-to-earth folks that love agriculture just as much as I do. And that brings me joy, being able to help folks. We're in the people business. We're here to serve the public and to help you solve problems, to make your operations sustainable, to keep in compliance, and also to address natural resource issues. And so this is actually, let me get started here. There we go. What can conservation districts do for you? So as I said previously, I do work for the State Division of Conservation. It is a state agency. It's under the Energy and Environment Cabinet. And basically what we do is we work with each county in Kentucky. Each county has a conservation district in their county, and we help them implement programs, provide services to the public. We offer some statewide programs, some cost shares, some farmland preservation stuff, a little bit of everything. But more than anything, we provide oversight and assistance to local counties. So conservation districts of Kentucky, they provide a very community-specific service to their public. Conservation districts are made up of 7 members of a board. They're a locally elected board, and they are in every county. Logan County has 2 in their county. They are funded by county government, but they are a subdivision of state government. The reason why I'm telling you all of this is because I want you to know that no matter where you live in our state, they are there, and they are providing basically the same programs in every county. They are basically the pathway to compliance, and they're the pathway to many other organizations because we are an agency group. We work with so many different agencies. We're a partner agency. So we're a source of information for state and local programs. Staff contacts and information about USDA folks and other programs that they provide. We also provide free technical assistance. And so if you ever have issues on your land that you don't know what to do with, maybe you have a sinkhole to pop up, maybe you need to fence your livestock out of the creek, maybe you just don't even know where to take your soil test to, or how to do things a little bit differently and environmentally responsible, there are folks that will come out and visit you free of cost. And the best thing, working with multiple agencies, because most conservation districts are located in the same office as the federal USDA, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, NRCS, and the Farm Service Agency, both of those which will be helpful to all of you. So what kind of programs do conservation districts provide? Well, like I said, it's community specific. Some conservation districts are better funded than others and can provide more programs to the general public, but they all provide local and state cost share programs. Does everybody know what cost share means? All right, good. I see a lot of heads shaking. I don't see any shaking no, so I think we're good. That is not for everybody. Some people do not want to be involved with cost share programs, but I believe if you have specific needs on your land that can help you with, that is a very valuable financial tool to have in your toolbox. You can also obtain information about CAPE, which is a Kentucky Department of Agriculture program. That is the County Agriculture Investment Program. Most conservation districts in the state, I believe it's in the 80 conservation districts, they provide the CAPE program through their local office. You can also obtain or update your agriculture water quality plan. You can visit the Farm Service Agency and get a farm number. You can work with the Natural Resource Conservation Service to establish eligibility for their federal programs and that sort of thing. But the conservation district is your pathway. So, some state programs that they offer. They offer the state cost share program, which includes numerous things to address natural resources, whether that be rotational grazing for your livestock, or maybe fencing off sinkholes, keeping your cattle out of the creek, developing a nutrient management plan to better help you manage your fertilizer and needs on your property. We also have a program called the Agricultural District Program, and that is a program of, it's where folks that want to preserve their land and save it for agricultural use can do that. If you have 250 contiguous acres that touch, so if you and your neighbors can put together 250 acres and you would like to become an agricultural district, then you may do so by visiting your conservation district and getting more information about that. So those are a few of the state programs. And here is where you will go to search for more information on all of that. Of course, they are websites. I do want to tell you, none of these organizations are regulatory, which means that we're all there to help. Like I said, we're in the people business, helping people help your land, make it better and more sustainable, more profitable, that kind of thing. We provide a lot of opportunities and we address a lot of environmental issues. So I think that's probably the number one goal. If you don't take home anything else, know that each county has a conservation district, that they're here to help you, and that they provide very specific programs in your community and can help you do whatever you need to do for your farm or your operation. So mine was very short and sweet. Does anybody have any questions? Well, they're either all sleeping or I did a good job. Yes, sir. Okay. Yes. So the question was, what's the difference between a conservation district, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, and Farm Service Agency? I work for the State Division of Conservation. Picture us like a pyramid here. We're at the top. Conservation districts are under us and they're county. So they're specific to every county. And then the Natural Resource Conservation Service and the Farm Service Agency are federal agencies. They are part of the USDA. Okay? We all work together though. We coordinate on different things. We plan, we cross-reference, we share information. So we're a partner agency.
Do you administer the state programs?
I personally administer the state programs, and the conservation districts do county, and they do all the federal. So anything that comes out of the Farm Bill programs, like the Environmental Quality Incentives Program, the EQIP, I'm sure you all have heard about, that is a federal program. That's a Farm Bill program. And the Natural Resource Conservation Service are the ones that administer that, but we assist with the technical assistance and that kind of thing. Yes, ma'am.
You can call a number if there's like an issue or something. Like I know that in the city, you can call it 311 or maybe it's 811.
811 is when you dig.
Okay.
Is that what you were referring to?
I think it was 311. I heard that like if you see a bunch of like dead fish in the creek.
Oh, okay, I've got you. So her question was, are we involved in any way with dialing 311 if you see an environmental emergency? And the answer is no, we are not. The Kentucky Division of Water would be who handles the water quality portion, anything that might go wrong. And then we in turn step in as conservation districts and state agencies to help those landowners go back into compliance. Okay? Yes?
You might have answered it, and I just missed it, but what does it mean / what benefits do you get from being an agricultural district?
Okay, so being an agricultural district, it doesn't pay any money, okay? It does not go long-term on a deed. It's not perpetual. It is more for stature. It is more to be more involved with programs because you do get additional points saying that you're in an agricultural district. Just because I want to give programs to this individual who is currently in the agricultural field that doesn't want to develop his land, that is interested in keeping it that way, I want to put more programs on his land. So he would get more points because he is in an agricultural district. At the end of 5 years, so you're in it for a 5-year period, you have the opportunity to get out or remove some of the land from it if you wish to do so. So there are a lot of farmland preservation programs. There's federal programs. There's a few state. If you're in Fayette County, they have their own farmland preservation program. You may remember the purchase of agriculture conservation easements, PACE. About 10 years ago, the Kentucky Department of Agriculture and the General Assembly funded that program, and that was a long-term easement program. They would pay you to put your property into it. The funding dried up for that, and they no longer support that unless you want to donate your property into that. So I would say that ag districts are just a stepping stone, another step forward to saying that I do not want to develop my land. I don't want to have my land annexed. And I want to have the right to have my land evaluated at the agricultural value if I choose to do so. So those are some of the pros and cons of that program. Anything else? All right. Thank you all so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next we have, I believe it is Michael Dixon with the UK Ag Weather Center. Matthew? Did I say Michael? Oh, I'm sorry, Matthew. So sorry. Well, his name tag says Matt. I knew I read that somewhere.
You're good. You're good. Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Again, my name is Matt Dixon. I work at the UK Ag Weather Center. I arrived there in 2012, so only like 28 more years till retirement. But I was here last year, talked about us becoming climate nerds. We're all weather nerds in some shape or form, but we need to be climate nerds also. I can't remember her name. She was just talking about the same topic over in the A auditorium a little bit ago. But my job in the Ag Weather Center is to minimize weather and climate-related surprise for Kentuckians across the state. And do that in a number of ways. We provide tools and models for producers, whether that's disease prediction, insect prediction, just your general forecast, livestock cold stress, heat stress, you name it. But in providing these tools, I've got a lot of questions the past 5 years or so. You know, Matt, when are you going to get a smartphone app? Everything's on a desktop computer, it's on the laptop, but I want to look at this while I'm in the tractor or whatnot. And I'm like, well, let's make it happen. So we got some funding from a few resources down here at the bottom, and we made a new weather app called Weather Alert. Simple name, wanted to keep it simple. You can access it if you are an Apple user. Who all is Apple users in here? Most of the audience. Android, I am very sorry right now. It is not available yet, but we're hoping pretty soon. I myself am an Android user, and I'm trying to push it as fast as I can. But anyways, talking a little bit about Weather Alert. Again, you can access it for Apple through the barcode up there in the top right. We wanted to make a simple weather app, a simple app for agriculture, a simple app for disaster preparedness, combining it all into one app, and it's completely free. 5 tabs. This again is the Apple product down at the bottom for navigation purposes. The first picture over here at the left, it will go by your GPS on your phone, and it will give you the current and forecast weather conditions over the next week. So mine, I pulled up on my phone, the test version for Android. It's popping up Frankfort, Kentucky right now. Now you can add up to 16 other locations on that app. I don't know why someone needs 16 other locations. I always wondered that. But if you got a farm here, you got one, miles down the road, you want to look at both of them, you can swipe left and right to get the latest forecast. In the Ag Weather tab, as it sits right now, I'm going to talk about this more in a second, I have this being pushed to the Ag Weather Update. This is a newsletter I push out every week to bi-weekly, talking about what the climate's been like, what the weather's been like the past couple weeks, the past month, what it looks like going forward, and maybe some interesting tidbits here and there. We paid for a very high resolution radar in the third image right there. This radar, if we were going to have an app, I wanted a good looking radar, because this is probably going to be what you guys are looking at most of the time whenever you access your weather apps. You can put this in motion. You can be a weather nerd like me. You can put other overlays on there, whether it's warning polygons, watch polygons from the National Weather Service. Maybe you want to put storm tracks on there to see the direction of storm movement. You can put precipitation, temperature in the forecast there, you name it. Lastly, there's another tab for extension disaster preparedness and recovery. The past couple of years have been really tough on Kentucky in terms of disasters, and I hate to say it, but they're going to keep on coming. I can't tell you when the next one's going to be, but it's definitely going to happen, and we got to be prepared. So this gives you some of those resources. We're hoping in phase 2, this is all just phase 1 right now, but in phase 2, making a communication feature with extension agents so they can be contacting us with the university what they need out in the field if a disaster were to happen. I will say, guys, if I can highlight this real quick, no ads. I don't like getting on the Weather Channel and accessing the current conditions, ad before I go to the daily forecast, ad before I go to the hourly forecast, ad before I go to radar. I got tired of it. And I wanted to make a weather app that is very easy in the way of navigation. No, there's no paywall. This is completely free. Our sponsors are taking care of that aspect. So this is for Kentucky through extension with the university. Another feature I want to add here. As a meteorologist, part of our job, we're always preaching to folks, take cover whenever you're under a tornado warning, a severe thunderstorm warning, you name it. And we tell folks to have multiple sources of receiving warning. Weather alert is going to be another source of receiving that life-saving information, that property protecting information. And just to give you guys an idea, 2023 set the record for the most billion-dollar disasters ever recorded in U.S. history, going back to 1980. That's when this data set started. So again, these disasters are going to keep on coming. Kentucky was a part of one of those billion-dollar disasters last March, whenever we had that major windstorm blow through Kentucky, and there was something like 500,000 households without power. But anyways, if you are under a tornado warning, maybe it's a winter weather advisory. Maybe in the case of this example right here, it's a wind advisory. This was a few weeks ago. I actually took this off my wife's Apple phone, but had a wind advisory in place. When the NWS issues that, it comes directly to your phone, a buzz, a beep, whatever you have it set up to do, letting you know, I need to take cover. There's a tornado warning just issued. I need to go to the basement. So again, the QR code right there and on the following pages. So I thought I'd give you guys a look, kind of what the app looks like. I got a couple videos on here. I might have to, there we go. So we got Android on the right, Apple on the left, kind of scrolling through the look of the two apps. Same type of information, just set up a little differently based on the different platforms. But again, getting that daily current weather information, hourly information. Going to radar there on the left. We're going to zoom into Michigan here. You can get an idea of the high resolution radar. We did expand this radar. I believe it goes out an hour and a half now, but it's impressive stuff. I was able to look at a tornado signature in Oklahoma. It was clear as day on this app. So again, I'm pretty excited about this. This is just phase one. We're going to keep adding to it, but keeping it simple. The agricultural side is next up. We're going to add some agricultural type forecast and help you guys out as much as possible. So again, just a quick look at what the app entails. So this is phase two of development. We're taking, again, some of the tools on our Ag Weather Center website and incorporating it into the app. This is one of our more popular products called the Point Ag Forecast. A lot of people watch the 6 p.m. newscast and they get the basic information on a daily basis going over the next 7 days. In agriculture, you need more in the way of definitive information. We try to break that down every 3 hours. We're going to push this into the app, make it a little bit more inviting to the eye, make it scrollable across the screen, but that'll be phase two, hopefully coming out in the next few months. So, and then lastly, if you want updates on maybe when the Android's going to come out, whenever I have phase two coming out, so on and so forth, you can sign up for my Ag Weather Update. Again, I put that out on a weekly to bi-weekly basis. So, but that's what I got, guys. Any questions? Yes, sir.
But have you seen the late frosts occurring more in central Kentucky over the last 5-6 years?
So, based on our changing climate, our growing season is expanding, and on average, the first freeze we see in fall is occurring later in the year, and the last freeze we're seeing in spring is occurring earlier in the year. In Bowling Green, if I remember right, based on the last set of climate normals, their average last freeze in the fall is occurring a week later in the year. That's a difference of a decade. whenever we're looking at these different sets of climate normals. And again, it's a week earlier in the year in the spring. So frost dates are definitely changing. And there is a lot of literature on that. I can try to point you in the right direction if give me an email or something afterwards. So. Yeah, yeah. So if it's late April, most likely you'll get a frost advisory sent to your phone, or maybe even a freeze warning. Yeah. So the National Weather Service issues the warnings and advisories, but in particular for frost and freeze, I'm consulting on them because we're only issuing those headlines when agriculture is susceptible. Otherwise, we'd be issuing those half of the winter season, then just get redundant, and then people wouldn't take action whenever they need to. So yeah, but you'll get those advisories and warnings on this app. So yes, sir.
Hate to bring it up, but I'm application and data background. Okay, so what type of data privacy protection, and how is the app? Usually, if you don't pay for an app and there's no ads, you are the information is collected. So I'm just curious how that's being managed from that standpoint.
So we are actually hooking in with a API developer called Barron Weather, and they got that all on their end right now. So we're collecting some. It's just what's the word I'm looking for? The amount of users accessing the app for extension purposes and whatnot, reporting, but yeah.
How much access do they need? Are they going in as a developer where they have contact and all that stuff, or are they managing that?
So the way I understand it is that's actually done through the data provider, whether that's Verizon or T-Mobile or so on and so forth. Because in order to get the alerts, there has to be a connection between Barron and the line. So. Anybody else? Yes.
It's kind of silly, but it makes me think, can you add like the Farmer's Almanac stuff onto that? Don't plant this today.
Yeah, so again, going into phase 2, we're really focusing on the agricultural side. Yeah. Phase 1, I wanted to get it out as quick as possible because of the severe weather aspect. I wanted people to have another source of warning if something like, God forbid, December 21st or December 10th happened again. So I want people to have another source of warning in those situations. So figured go ahead and get it out in phase 1, then we'll work on phase 2 in the meantime. So good question though. I'm curious sometimes. I'll look at the Farmer's Almanac, so see what they're saying. All right.
Next is Nicole Gwishiri, and she's from American Farmland Trust.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Nicole Gwishiri, and I am the Women for Land Southeast Program Manager. American Farmland Trust is a national nonprofit that helps to conserve farmland. So a lot of our mission is protecting farmland, so permanent protection of farmland. So Kimberly talked about easements. We do easements. We don't necessarily hold the easements, but we want people to protect their land for agricultural production. Promoting sound farming practices. So we go to a lot of conferences. We partner with a lot of different organizations, just like Extension, NRCS, and conservation districts, and then keeping farmers on the land. So that is either making sure that farmers have some profitability to allow them to stay on their farming, or also connecting new beginning farmers to farmland and farm access or land access. So those are the main principles of American Farmland Trust if you've never heard of us. And we work across the nation, but we have several staff members who live in Kentucky. So I, again, live in Lexington. And so we've been around for 43 years. Permanently protecting farmland was something that we did initially. We were the first organization that really worked with cities, governments to make sure that we did those land protection programs. As Kimberly mentioned, we started in Lexington for Fayette County. We did the purchase of development rights, which still is a program that happens, and permanently protecting farmland. And then we've helped over 600,000 farmers, ranchers, and landowners with that. And so we are still aiming to do that. And then I just wanted to talk about our Southeast staff. So we have Courtney Owens, who used to work here at Kentucky State University, but now is our regional director. And then we have Mallory, who works in Georgia, and Annalise, who works in Georgia as well. And then we have other people, so you might recognize that it's me on there. Aisha also lives here in Kentucky. She's the far, I don't know. Anyway, and he works here and lives in Kentucky as well. So we have quite a few people who, and you might know Billy Van Pelt. Most people know him, and he's up here as well. So just making sure that people know where we are. And so for some of those things that we talk about, what we do for folks, we do have grant giving opportunities. So one that most people know is the Brighter Future Fund grant that usually happens every spring. So it will be coming out in the next few months. And that is, we started in 2020 to assist farmers and community members during the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we start that, or it continues every year. So we have different funding opportunities or areas of expertise. And so that has been between $5,000, I think it was the first 3 years, but it depends on who our corporate sponsors are and our donors. And so now it's up to $10,000. So you have the option, or the opportunity, I won't say the option, the opportunity to get between $5,000 and $10,000. And so this year, I think they announced recently Domino's is our corporate sponsor. So if you grow wheat or tomatoes, or you have cheese or something that Domino's might be interested in doing, and tell a really good story, then you have the opportunity to get that funding. We also had a Women for the Land Southeast Regional Grant, where that was $20,000 that we gave to a participant of our Women for the Land program. And so that was to improve farm viability, which is very similar to our Brighter Future Fund grant. And so we hope to continue to do those bigger types of grants that will really activate your farming operations within regional or regenerative farming practices and all of those things that I'm sure most of you all are doing. And then we also I host the Women for the Land Learning Circles here in Kentucky. And so this is a picture of our one that was in North Carolina, but we have those on fields or on farms. Kenya, our lovely moderator, hosted one for us in the fall. And so those are smaller farm field days. We have a focus of women and non-binary folks to come to a location, and we invite our technical providers, Oak, as she works with them, and then other organizations to provide educational opportunities, but then we also provide a stipend for our participants to come and spend time. So those learning circles are really an opportunity for us to build connections, to build relationships, and to also talk about those particular issues that that women face for barriers into entry, and then also we have a particular focus and interest on BIPOC community folks. So everyone is invited to, or all folks are invited to our all women and non-binary folks. Actually, men are invited if you would like to come. However, it is women-centered. So we work here in Kentucky with Kentucky State University, their extension program, Kentucky Black Farmers Association. We have Natural Resource Conservation Services that does a lot of work with us, and others. So if you're interested, please join us. It's a great time. Yeah. And then other projects that we have here that some folks may be interested in is the Kentucky Commercial Rye Project. So we were funding some farmers who had, I think, less than 26 acres to see what our rye project was. Now, that one is also in partnership with Kentucky State University and the Kentucky Department of Agriculture, but it's in our last years of doing that. So this is the last year. But we also do field trials, which is also a compensation. So when we're looking for folks to do focus on conservation research and economic outputs, those are things that we are looking for. So at this point, we are looking for biochar field trials. If anybody is interested in that, which I've sent documents for all of these things that I'm talking about. And then climate smart commodities. So I put this on here because almost, well, I won't say almost all, but a lot of different organizations, including conservation districts, including Oak, including maybe Grow Appalachia, some other folks, American Farmland Trust included, are doing commodity grants. And so those commodities grants are looking for you all that you're interested, if you're interested, hopefully you're interested, in doing some regenerative agriculture practices, improving your soil, your quality of your land for climate, trying to shift our climate to a more sustainable climate. So we're looking for, if you're interested in soil health, you don't have to have land for that. You can just be an influencer, someone who can motivate other people to implement soil health practices. That also includes, other staff like NRCS or conservation districts, extension folks, Oak folks, if you're interested, if you work with an organization that, doesn't have one that's particular to ours. And then we also have the Growing Climate Smart. So that one is focused on soybean, if you grow soybean, corn, wheat, and maybe some other type of crop. But the sign up is here, but you will get that whenever Oak sends out their materials. So if you're interested, we have them, but I also want to say that other organizations are also doing their own climate smart commodities. And so Accelerating Appalachia has one. Rodale Institute that's in Georgia has one that covers Kentucky and a few others. I mean, there's a ton of them. So when you're looking for those climate smart commodities, if you're interested, I would suggest shopping around because everybody doesn't pay the same amount. For example, I know Accelerating Appalachia pays $1,000 per acre for the implementation that you do, but a conservation district may only pay $150 for that same practice. And so you want to get the most bang for your buck. That may not be my organization, but there are plenty of them. And then also you can do multiple organizations. You just cannot do the same practice on the same acreage or the same points of land. So Accelerate Appalachia, they pay $1,000 per acre, but you have to have at least 20 acres. Where American Farmland Trust, you don't have to have 20 acres, but we may not be paying $1,000. So those are just some things to think about if you're looking into doing some climate smart commodities, because everyone is going to be recruiting, and we're only recruiting for a handful of folks. So I do want to say that. And then, like I said before, we do some soil health case studies, so we do pay for those as well. It's just a really great opportunity for us to connect with our local farmers, but also to see why you should implement these soil health strategies, what that economic output would be for your farm, and why that might need to be reduced. So we do that as well, and we are really aim to uplift our farmers that are successful. And then this is my information. Again, I'm the Women for Land Southeast Program Manager. I do live here in Kentucky. And are there any questions for me?
It's kind of a trivial question, but the land preservation program is a federal program, correct? Land preservation, the farmland preservation?
Yes, it is.
So just out of curiosity, is that protected from eminent domain?
No, unfortunately, it is not.
Just wondered.
However, I would say, and I think somebody did ask like what the benefit of like an agricultural, I can't remember what it's called, district. So purchase of development rights is a little different because you do get paid really it's only in Lexington at this point because we have an urban service boundary. But I do know that there are challenges here in Frankfort where someone is trying to put an industrial park over 1,000 acres right down the road. And so as you are thinking about preservation of your land, in the future, there are different organizations that hold easements, like, for example, American Farmland Trust. We don't hold, we do hold easements somewhat, but we are not an organ. Some people think, okay, well, if you have an easement on your land, you can't sell it. That's not actually true, but you can, it does have benefits for you. So, like, if you wanted to hold an easement for your land and you wanted to permanently protect for agriculture production, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't sell it in the future. You just can't sell it for development. You can sell it for agricultural practices, and it could be a creative way for you to have income for your future, even if you're not the person who is stewarding your land, but you want to give opportunity for other folks to be able to farm. But also the thing is, like, there are developers, of course, who are going to pay top dollar maybe for your land. But if we're caring about our land, then we also have to give the opportunity for other people to be able to do that in a way that is economical. And so I don't know, it's just a thought process. You have to be really cognizant of those things. But if you live in Lexington, there are programs that allow you to do that. It's always a wait list. There's never enough funds for that, but people do it. So. And there are smaller land trusts that are able to do, and then you can get creative with it. So there is a thing about that, about easements or permanently protecting your land for your future or our future, the world's future. Any other questions? Which I do not do that in my organization, but there are people. Yes.
Can you explain a little more about the biochar?
Oh, yes. Okay, so sure, yes, I'm not the person, but Aisha, who lives in Shelby County, she is the person who's in charge of the biochar. And so biochar is like looking at the carbon and like prescribed burning and how that can go back into your land. And so as I don't know how they do the trials, but we are looking for people who are interested in learning more about biochar and what those trials would look like for their farm, and then you do get compensated for. I don't, but I also sent, there is a form that I sent that I added to it, so that has the requirements on there. But I can also get your name and I can connect you directly to Aisha. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Next up is Dave Mathis from Shelbyville Insurance Company. Shelby, not Shelbyville. I was in Shelbyville recently.
I'm going to hand this to my daughter and let her use the slides.
You want to stand at the podium?
I'll stand over here. All right. As she said, I'm David Mathis. I'm with Shelby Insurance Agency. We specialize in crop insurance, although we do write a few other products. We have written some of the programs, some of the policies that we'll be talking about today. What I wanted to talk to you about is something I think will fit many of you all in this room, and that is the micro farm policy that's part of the whole farm revenue policy. This program is designed for people who have an approved revenue of $350,000 or less. We have another program, the standard whole farm revenue policy, that can cover people whose income or their revenue is higher than that. We can actually start from $1 and go all the way up to $17 million of insured revenue. And it's a very good risk management tool for the diversified farmer. This policy, even though it's available for corn, soybeans, and grain crops, it doesn't work so well on them as it does on the vegetable grower, the fruit grower, somebody who is a commercial hay producer, maybe has some livestock, things like that. We can cover organic commodities, both crops and livestock. This year, as well as last year, there is a special, the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, came out with a special discount for certified and transitional organic growers. They give an additional 10% discount on your premium. You say, well, that 10% doesn't sound like a whole lot. But if you're at the 75% level of coverage or guarantee, and let's say the premium is $10,000 and you're in compliance with the NRCS programs that you can find out about at Farm Service Agency, and the premium's $10,000, the basic subsidy at the 75% level is 80%. So that's knocked your premium down to $2,000. If you're certified organic or transitional organic, then you have another $1,000 discount. The 10% comes off of the $10,000, not off of the $2,000. So now you're down to $1,000. It's a very affordable program. The premium is earned at the time, 10 days after the policy is approved, or at the time the policy is approved, but we don't bill for it until August 15th. So that gives you time to sell some produce or whatever that you're raising to help pay the premium. We can cover, if you have to be a U.S. citizen or resident in order to qualify for this program, you must be eligible to receive federal benefits. You need to file either a Schedule F or a related tax return showing your farm income. And I would suggest to you, if you're starting out and have only been farming a couple of years, haven't generated any revenue yet, file the Schedule F anyway. Show zero as income and then show your expenses on there. Now, if you don't have insurance, if you don't have any revenue or expenses, that won't work, I don't think. Talk to your tax person. But you can show zero income and then show your expenses. And then that gets you at least 1 year. We need to have at least 3 years of tax records for this to work. Most of you all, maybe all of you, haven't filed your 23 tax returns yet. That's okay. We can wait till you file it, providing you get them to us before the sales closing date, which on the micro policy is April the 15th, which is a change from last year. And we can do that, or we can get with you and fill out a substitute Schedule F, which we can use for the most recent year, and then use the other years that you have before that. If you are a beginning farmer or rancher and you qualify, and we have the same qualifications as the Farm Service Agency has, which is 10 years, there's an additional 10% discount which is available. If in the example I gave earlier, $10,000 premium, 80 at the 75% level, $2,000 premium, $1,000 comes off for organic, another $1,000 comes off for a beginning farmer or rancher, which means we have to charge you something, okay? We'll charge you $1. And that's that's how it works. At the 80 and 85% levels, we still get the 10% discounts, but it's not subsidized as heavily as the 75%. For most of you, I would look at the 75 or 80% level. I think that can work for you. If your income is more than $350,000 of approved revenue, we need to look at the standard whole farm policy. We can cover products that you all, commodities that you all are buying to resell. If it's no more than 50% of your approved revenue. Let's say you're a commercial hay grower and you buy $10,000 worth of hay to resell, and you're intending to resell it at $15,000. We're only covering the $5,000 from the $10,000 to the $15,000. But there's an exception on this. If you're buying commodities to replace commodities that you lost due to an insured reason, this 50% doesn't come into play. This covers all commodities that you raise on the farm, whether you want it to or not. There are a few that are excluded forest products, such as timber. Timber is about a 60 to 100-year crop, so we can't cover that. Animals for sport, show, or pets. So those are not covered, but basically we can cover all the other commodities. We can cover ginseng if it's been cultivated. If you're selling walnuts from a walnut grove, we can cover those. We have a whole list of things that we can cover. With the micro policy, we don't have to schedule. We need to know what you're raising, but we're going to give you a 3-commodity discount on the policy, which that gets the premium a little bit more affordable for a lot of people. We can insure you from anywhere from 50% to 85% level. That's based on 5% increments. So we can go 50, 55, 60, etc. Previously, if you had other insurance policies, we could not insure you under the micro policy. There's a change that they made this year where we now can insure you under the micro policy, and maybe you've got 50 acres of corn that you insured in a multi-peril. And we can now do that. There's some special rules on these things. We determine your approved revenue using your Schedule Fs or whatever your tax forms that you use showing your farm income. So that's how we're going to come up with how much coverage we can offer you. Now, if we were to take an application today, we would need to know if you had any commodities left over the first of the year, the last day of last year. And we would also have to know if anybody owed you money from what you sold them last year. The reason we want that is if you do have something bad happen and there's a claim, we don't want that to count against your revenue to count. That would hurt you. So we want to know that up front. And then at the end of the year, we have to know what you had left over in case there's a claim, because revenue to count will be based on the commodities you sell and also the ones you have in inventory and the ones that you haven't been paid for yet. And we would need you to file a tax return in order for us to determine how much, if any, loss you have had. We cover any kind of adverse, any kind of adverse weather condition, drought, too much rain, disease, wildlife. Now, we're covering disease and wildlife, but you need to have some way of trying to control those. But sometimes it doesn't work. We have had claims that people were trying and they still had problems. We cover wildlife also. I guess the most unusual claim that I've had, I've been selling crop insurance one way or the other since I hate to tell you, started when I was in college, 1970. Most unusual claim I had is 2013, one of my insureds called me, and he said, I need you to send an adjuster out here. I've got a loss on my corn. And everybody was having a great year on corn. We were hearing a lot of reports that it was going to be a record crop. And we always have to know what the cause of loss is. And I asked him, I said, Ray, what's happened? What's the cause of your loss? He said, wild hogs got in my corn. We went ahead and reported the claim. The adjuster went out there. Sure enough, he had lost his corn crop to the wild hogs. He also got his neighbor's corn too. Since then, 2019, I think most of the hogs in that particular county have been removed, thankfully. Previously, on some of these policies, we had to know what your expenses were. We do need to show that from the Schedule F, but we don't take that into consideration like we once did. Under the micro policy, we don't assign individual prices. We use a total. Now, if we get into the standard whole farm, that's a little bit different. You want to go to that information you provide, Alice? Here's the things that we need in order to work with you on seeing if this will work for you. Now, there's some people this will not work for. Most of you all, I think it will. We need at least 3 years of tax returns based on your farm income. And we can use a substitute Schedule F for the most recent year. If you're using forms other than the Schedule F to compute your farm taxes, we can transfer that to what we call a substitute Schedule F. This works better with 5 years, but if you've only been farming 3, we can make it work. If you have 4 years of tax records, we'll need the 4. If you've only had 3, we need those. If you've had 5, we will need the 5. You can qualify for a beginning farmer or rancher if you've had 10 or less years of farming experience, farming income. That does. If you've been working on a farm but not farming, that doesn't count. So we start it when you start farming on your own or with a partner. We need to make sure that we insure you in the entity that you sell your crops. If it's an LLC and you file your taxes that way, then we insure the LLC. And as with everything, I've generalized a lot. You know what they say about generalizations. All generalizations are false, including this one. So if you have some, we would be more than happy to work with you. It is a complicated policy. We have sold a few of these, haven't sold as many as we would like to, but it's only been out 2 years. I think we'll see a lot more of them sold this year. And once the bankers figure this out, we're going to see this used a lot to secure loans. But that's basically it. Oh, I forgot to say one thing. If you are expanding, there's a special way that we can help you get more coverage. For organic, it's the greater of 35% of the expansion or $500,000. That can help. But there's special things we have to go through to prove what the expansion consists of. And I hope somebody has some questions that I can answer. If they're very hard and can't answer them, I'll ask Alice to help. Yes, sir.
So you mentioned the 350,000. Now, is that specific to the Schedule K portion?
Schedule F
So
portion, you mean?
Yeah, Schedule F. So yeah, they're staying K1 special. Yeah, the Schedule F.
Yes, that's going to be based on your Schedule F.
So if you've got other business or whatever, that's
no,
not
that doesn't count. If you're working in town, that doesn't count. If you're doing custom work, let's say you've got a hay baling operation, what you make on that doesn't count toward that either. We have to take all that out.
Okay.
So we're only doing this based on, and if you'd sold some timber, we'd have to take that out as well because that's not an insurable product. Oh, one thing I should mention, it's not in the slide program, but if you're a CSA and you get all your money up front, let's say you charge somebody $500, you agree to send them a box or get them a box of fruits and vegetables on a periodic basis, and if something bad happens, your customer's just out of luck, we don't cover that. You've already risk managed that, okay? But if you're agreeing to sell somebody fruits and vegetables on a periodic basis, they pay you upon delivery, we can cover that. If you're a CSA in the traditional sense, but you also sell to a farmer's market, maybe you also sell to a grocery store, things like that, we can cover what's not covered under the traditional CSA.